Hi there. Welcome to the Study and Learning Centre workshop series for RMIT graduate researchers. I'm Dr. Jen Anderson, and in this workshop we're going to consider ways to manage your research process. It's good to know from the start what to expect and then how to stay in touch with what you need to do and what you're actually doing. So, in this presentation, we'll discuss two key issues: managing your workload and organising your research. And don't believe Murphy's Law. It's not relevant for those who manage to take control of the research process. Here's a simple list of advice. We're going to look at these in more detail in this workshop. Organise your time and make routines. Remember, the PhD is only one task among others you need to do in a week. How can you fit your PhD into the rhythms of daily life? Keep an organised filing system for reference sources, your writing and your practice, field or lab-based materials. Keep your motivation high and manage those inevitable swings in confidence and energy. And besides your supervisors, there are others who can support you inside the university and in your local community. You don't have to be alone on this journey. Time is mercurial. It can slow down or speed up. Sometimes we can get lots of things done in an hour, but the very next hour may drag. We recommend that you use a Gantt chart or timeline to map out your reading, writing, and research activities. This can be modified regularly, but it serves as a guide for what you need to do over the short term and the longer term. You'll need to produce a Gantt chart as part of your research proposal, so start using it as a prep tool for getting the proposal completed. Look online to learn how. It's important to prioritise tasks, and university admin requirements take priority. For example, if your supervisors have scheduled regular meetings with you, make sure you participate in agenda setting and be ready to supply the writing or reading you've agreed on, or be ready to justify why you're offering something else. If your lab sessions are booked at a particular time, you need to make sure you're there. If you've offered to submit some text for your writing group, keep your promise. You need time before each milestone to put together a presentation and a written document. Make sure you block in enough time. The rest of the time you allocate to the PhD can be divided according to daily energy levels and the types of tasks you need to complete. There are always organisational and admin tasks relating to the thesis or dissertation, or there's research practice that can be done according to your energy levels. This advice is difficult for those who love to help out others. However, in the PhD process, you need to remind yourself that time needs to be spent efficiently. If you're a member of a writing group, for example, you may want to be sure that your group gives as much support as you give them. Of course, life isn't all tit for tat. Sometimes we need to give to one person and get support from another. But if you believe that you don't need any support, you may want to think again. Finally, pay attention to strategies you use that do not yield results. Sometimes we can insist on doing the same things over and over, but with no success. Be open to changing your tactics. Be open to learning new ways of doing. You might be surprised how time is suddenly your friend. So here's a way of studying smarter by the clock. This time technique, called the Pomodoro technique, asks for 3 minutes of planning, followed by 25 minutes of doing, and 2 minutes of evaluation. For example, I might spend 3 minutes skimming a scholarly article and preparing questions to ask of the reading. And then I read and make notes for 25 minutes based on the questions I've asked. Then I spend 2 minutes checking that I've understood the reading and marking those passages I need to emphasise in my own work or I want to discuss in more detail. This cycle is repeated one more time, then repeated again after a 5-minute break. After 3 mini sessions are completed, take a 20-minute break and some exercise before starting the cycle again. You'll be surprised how much you get done because you're breaking time and your writing or study into manageable chunks. Remember, when you're in the study cycle, you should not be multitasking, that is, answering emails or texts or paying bills online. The Pomodoro technique is the basis for shut up and write sessions. They're held at the university every week. Why not join in? We find discipline in writing with others. Give it a try and tell us what you think on the discussion forum. There's quite a lot of time in a day when we're commuting or waiting in a queue or waiting for coffee. These are the times when we can perform floating tasks. For example, we could make a note of something, make a list or a plan. We could reflect on a reading and make a quick comment, or reflect on a research task and suggest an alternative approach. We could read a journal article if we know we've got 15 minutes or more, or listen to a podcast. We can browse the library catalogues on our phones or check and update our calendars. Some of you have to organise not only the conceptual and writing component of your thesis, you also have to engage with research practice, that is, the material production of something original. Do you need to organise and maintain any of these activities? They take a lot of time to set up and a lot of time to keep on track, so make sure you're ready to include these in your Gantt chart or weekly calendar. For the first milestone of our candidacy, we need to write a literature review, and this literature review continues right throughout our research. This means that we're reading and analysing texts to identify their relationship to our research. In the process, many of us begin to shape our research questions. It's likely that we'll be reading across methods and approaches, theoretical frameworks, and issues or problems, and this means we need to keep an effective filing system so we can find things quickly. You'll always need to make some time for cleaning up your filing systems. Do this when your brain needs relaxing time. Some of you will prefer to download and print off articles so you can physically make notes on them and underline key quotes and main points that will be added to the draft of the literature review. You'll need to keep this printed material in some kind of order. One strategy is to number each article and keep a printout of the list on the top for easy access. Of course, you have to make sure to write all the bibliographic information, the author, date, journal, and DOI number and so on each article or printout. Others use colour coding for their folders. We suggest that as your thesis chapters start to take shape, you should put related articles into chapter-specific folders for easy retrieval. We also recommend that you mark each article as you cite them in your thesis dissertation. Whatever system you decide on, make sure that you maintain it. Some of you are able to read and make effective notes on computer, so you'll keep a system of folders there. In my experience, as our thinking matures, we make new connections between ideas, and as a result, we may need to file some articles in more than one folder. We recommend keeping the files in Dropbox or Drive so you don't lose them, or use writing management software such as Zotero, which stores articles, creates a bibliography, and has a place for making notes that can be uploaded into your manuscript. Whatever system you use, make sure you back up frequently, preferably in more than one place. It makes me uncomfortable to say it, but human beings tend to function best when they establish workable habits and routines. So, make writing every day a habit. Why? Because writing sharpens thinking. Even if you feel unable to write about your research, write about something else. Write in your first language or another language. Do some translation. Preferably create a strong link between your research and your writing. Try to do both at the same time. For example, if you spend a few hours on practice, such as testing in the lab, give yourself 20 minutes to write up what you did, what you think about what you did, and what you need to do next. You may start noticing that with all the writing that you do, it gets easier to write down what you're thinking. If you're uncertain about writing, then Make it a routine part of your day. Treat it like a job. But remember, it needs to fit in with all the other important parts of our lives, our families and friends, and daily exercise, the music making, the meditation. We recommend keeping a journal, no matter what discipline you're in. Journals are great places for generating and reflecting on ideas. They're informal documents that allow us the freedom to doodle and ruminate, to ask questions we may not have answers to, a place to discover the deeper layers of our research thinking. I prefer using a journal without lines because I want to feel free to write and draw without imposed structure. If you'd like to understand more about journal keeping, there's some useful information on generating ideas in the section on writing. Pause if you'd like to read these journal entry examples. It's useful to know from the outset that doing a PhD is not always fun, and that's because in the process of becoming as good a researcher as we can be, we need to learn new things, and in the process we make mistakes. Sometimes our supervisors or the panel at our milestone reviews tell us that we're not performing to the standard they require, and it really hurts. We feel like total losers. In my final submission review, for example, the panel told me that they thought my work was very interesting and that I had done some excellent research. However, they said they did not like the approach I had taken to writing the dissertation. They felt it was not academic enough in tone. I could not hear any of the praise, only the criticism, and I thought about all the work I'd done and all the time I'd spent, and it was not good enough. I was not good enough. Even though I could tell my friends that the criticism was fair and useful, in my heart I felt very bruised indeed. My ego did not like to hear I was not good enough. I had to practice breathing deeply and made sure I went to the gym every day and kept up with my volunteering activities so I could not think negatively about myself too much. It took me a few days to steady myself and get back to work. With my supervisor's support, I found the academic voice that worked best, and I then got back on track for final submission. So if you feel like this at any stage in your research process, be sure to tell people you like, people who love you. And as you talk with them, you'll find balance again and be able to accept useful advice. RMIT University has a range of support services for you. Don't forget that the staff are waiting for you to contact them if you need them. We look forward to hearing from you. Don't let a bit of criticism get you down. Get some help as you need it. You can see the Study and Learning Centre is now part of the library services. You can find us through Student Connect. There are lots of useful study resources online and in the library. You don't need to do it alone. Remember that. And most important of all, enjoy your research. Have fun. Cheers.